approximately now. So we're going. So I'm just gonna start the theme song, and then we're ready to go. So let's get that rocking to the clock. All right. Let me check the sound. Should be good to go. I'm actually going to do it a little bit lower volume so it's not peaking.
I'm peaking. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Horrible Podcast. I am Brian.
I'm Tyler.
And I'm Drew.
And we're back together again. It feels like we've missed a couple of weeks, like every month.
Yeah, we've been busy
it's been staggered.
kids.
It's been staggered.
Yeah.
Busy guys.
Yeah, it's things happen. That's why we have such an extensive backlog. We have all those extra podcasts we can put out, so we can take a hiatus if we need to.
You guys don't even know some of the treats that we have in that library as well.
I know there's every time I'm like, oh god, we can't do it this week. Do we have anything left? I look like, oh, we have like 17 left. It's fine.
We also have every week all the stuff that we say before the podcast I record. So at some point and I save it as like episode number banter. So at a certain point we're gonna have a banter episode where it's just all of the crazy, like the episode we just released. What was it? I've already forgotten. What did we release this week? Whatever it was. Aftershock. We spent like 15 minutes before we recorded that episode doing Cockney British accents. And I think that has to end up somewhere on the internet. So I feel like
that was. I wondered where that was because I remember that, but I don't remember hearing it on an episode.
Yeah, that's funny. Why was it that episode?
I don't know, but tonight you're gonna get all sorts of Aussie accents.
Crikey.
Because
that's a right gator there.
Well, hang on. That's a little teaser before we get there. Hey, follow us on Twitter at Horrible. I mean, chances are you probably already are if you're listening to this
you think
podcast.
You can do this in an Aussie accent?
If you'd like to follow us on Twitter at Horrible. God damn it! I went to Cockney.
Drop that H.
God damn it. We're at Horrible Podcast.
Horrible.
You can't. I can't do it. It's only offensive if I try because everything I do sounds Caribbean.
Hang on, let me find
Follow
the
the horrible podcast.
Let me find my turn. Let me find my turn. It's
follow the horrible podcast, man.
Oh,
follow the horrible podcast. follow that's Kiwi. That's more like a New Zealand.
Right, you can follow the horrible podcast. We're at Twitter. We're at Horrible Podcast. HORROR. So anyway, Twitter.
As if it weren't like anyone from Australia is like, I know that it's offensive and we're sorry. Like it is one of the most like delectable accents to try out. Like it's not like we're trying to be assholes. It's that it sounds so neat that we want to try.
We're trying to be assholes.
I'm sure people make fun of
assholes.
Our accents all the time. We do have them.
What do you mean? What?
Whether we like to think we don't.
Hey guys, let's go to the mall. Yeah.
We definitely have accents. Like
I would like to drive in that traffic. GR Healthcare is like 37th in the world.
Our infant mortality rate is higher than some African countries.
On Twitter, we're at Horrible Podcast, HORRORBULLPCAST. You can check us out at thehorriblepodcast.com. Change to the website coming soon. We're working on that. Hopefully get a little more content up there. Some writings, some scribblings, some ideas. Yeah.
It's gonna be awesome. Yeah, I'm excited about this.
Also, public guys. I'm gonna go ahead and I'll go ahead and do this because it's the elephant in the room for us. But Tyler and I had our first fight in 3 years.
What?
So I'm gonna post
Why are you
that.
Why is this on the podcast?
It's funny because I thought it's like, man. I told Drew, and I was like,
you're about to start the second one.
I was like, it's pretty good. It's pretty good that we've gone 3 years without an actual argument.
I wouldn't even call what we had an argument.
It wasn't an argument. It was a misunderstanding, but we're going to post the We're gonna post the screenshots online.
No, we're not.
I think it would be delectable.
You're very West Coast in how you approach this stuff, whereas I'm more Northeastern, where I don't want to put that out there. I'd rather just shove it down.
Brian, let's not talk about this.
Brian, I'd rather you don't.
And I'm like, come on, man, let's just share it.
Come on, my therapist says.
Hey, Bog, get rid of the body.
So in tonight's episode is Wormwood, 2015's. Did it come out?
It's 14.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's 14. It's been in the works for a long time. As I looked at the little trivia on IMDb, it took them 4 years to make because they could only work on the weekends.
You know who else that sounds like? Peter Jackson. It took Peter Jackson 4 years working on weekends to make Bad Taste.
Bad Taste. Yeah.
So that sounds very familiar.
I feel there's something else we watched that had a similar
It's probably The Battery.
idea about that. They had only worked weekends, but I don't remember what it was.
I will say also that Evil Dead took a really long time to film and then get out. I think Evil Dead 2 also took a long time to get filmed and out there. I think it took 6 months for them to film the first one. Or maybe it was the second one. Like one of them, it took a really long time for them to film. And they were just kind of like a band. Like they just kind of lived in a cabin in their own filth for 6 months to make that movie.
Could you imagine spending like just that amount of time on one thing?
No, I did with a novel, but like I couldn't imagine.
Well.
I wrote the first draft of Boogie House in 2008, and it's now 2015. It took 6 years for that to go from inception to release.
And how old's Jackson? So I mean,
I have been working on him for 8 years. You're right.
So.
God, I have spent a lot of time with him. Jesus Christ. Trying to leave that one. Yeah, no, but it's just like spending 4 years like every weekend. Just as you imagine like the whole, hey, you guys want to work on the movie this weekend?
I just can't imagine. Like after a certain period of working on anything, I'm like, this is all kind of bullshit. Like I can imagine after 2 years, like I don't want to do this anymore. It's pretty stupid. Let's start over. Like I could see that.
Or the arguments that must have happened like after a year or two. Like, are we even gonna fucking put it out?
But I think that also maybe kind of may explain some of the weaknesses of it because parts of it kind of feel dated already, and it could be if it's being filmed in if 2010 is when they're filming parts of it. It's like. In between there and now, we've had all this other zombie content come out that maybe while something seemed fresh at that point,
like the Guy Ritchie shots.
Yeah,
there were some of those Guy Ritchie shots that like zoomed in slow-mo. That I don't know how they did those, but yeah, I was like, those feel out of place for some reason.
There were a lot. They definitely took a lot from Peter Jackson and Dead Alive with the frantic kind of pace of the violence and stuff like that in some of the shots.
I would also say Sam Raimi. Like he's the first guy I thought of. I was like, this is 100% Sam Raimi.
I honestly thought like a more action-oriented kind of Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah.
So like Shaun of the Dead by George Miller.
Yeah, I could see that. Like I thought Shaun of the Dead too.
I like the idea too. Like at one point, there was the scene in the car where. I was reminded of The Battery when they're stuck in the car overnight.
Oh yeah,
And I thought to myself, I was like, I wonder if these guys saw The Battery like last year and like, God damn it, they beat us to it.
I thought of that too. I mean, it's a good movie, but it also is a movie that I don't want to say but that makes it sound like it's not good, but it's a movie that is very influenced as well. I mean, I really liked a lot of this movie. There's a lot of this movie I really super liked. I don't know that there's anything I maybe the end, but I watched it really late at night, so I was sort of like ready to be done with it because it was late. So I don't know if that influences, but I mean, for the most part, I really dug this movie. I think the ending, which we will get to, is like an interesting take on all of this, but I kind of wish that had been more fleshed out. But I think other than that, I really dug this movie.
So Wyrmwood, Road of the Dead, is billed as Mad Max meets Night of the Living Dead.
Right. Mad Max of the Dead. Yeah.
Mad Max of the Dead. Yeah. And it lives up to that in the whole post-apocalyptic thing. I really was hoping for more car sequences.
Yeah, it did. It made me think a lot of Doomsday.
Yes.
At that point. The Neil Marshall
I don't think
movie.
I've seen that.
Even to the point
of talk about wacky, crazy, you've got to watch it kind of
the
stuff.
main female character as the kind of like the black eyeliner kind of just crazy shithouse crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Doomsday is like it's like Escape from Medieval Times. It's like it literally
The
is
restaurant?
a John Carpenter. Yeah, I mean it's like a John Carpenter Escape remake, but then through the guise of this weird sci-fi medieval movie, which feels like Medieval Times. I mean it's nuts. And then there's all this Mad Max road car shit. It's crazy, but I liked it.
So you guys remember the Frightening Ass Film Festival in 2013?
Mm-hmm.
Dressed as the Your Next characters.
Mhm.
We had that short played by the band Strung Like a Horse, Glad.
Mm-hmm.
Where it was like the zombies that they attacked, and they had the one girl dressed. This movie reminded me a lot of
I can
that
see
one
that.
music video. I will post it on our
Post it on our site. So that'll be a traffic thing. Yeah, post it on our site like when we can.
So I'll post that up there, the video, because it's a really good video, but it reminds me a lot of this, and not a bad way. Like the video was done by shot by a guy named Tomas Donaso, and he did a great job on this video. But it has a lot of the same elements. The idea of the zombies attacking, and there's the group of people who are trying to fight against them. It's good stuff.
It's very stylized. I mean, let's talk. So, let's do plot. So sometimes I feel like we just like jump into like talking about the movie without maybe giving a setup. I mean, people who are hearing this have probably watched the movie, but maybe not. And so I think the plot is. I mean, it's a zombie movie, so you have some stereotypical like here are some story elements, but there's also some pretty insane, crazy stuff with the B plots and C plots in this movie that really make it stand out for me. So like, let's make a collage of ideas that tell us like what the movie is about.
Oh, I was just about to say if you're one of those people who hasn't watched it yet, you might want to pause this and watch it because
It's awesome.
if you're like spoiler, allergic. Those happen.
I kind of wonder sometimes if someone sees our podcast, like, this one's only 58 minutes. The movie's an hour and 38.
Yeah.
I'll listen to the
Let's
podcast
know all about it
and get
from
the
that.
idea.
Good point.
So the movie has three.
I certainly don't hope someone listens to our podcast and tries to make points after listening to our podcast with our information that we give out.
A meteor shower, is that correct? That's kind of what does
They allude, they talk about the shower, the meteor shower. They say,
so it's kind of like
Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah, and does Maximum Overdrive
Maximum
do it?
Maximum
Overdrive,
Overdrive.
yes.
Yeah, both of those.
The cars get crazy.
Well, yeah, and then-
Mad Maximum Overdrive of the Dead.
but even it's interesting you mentioned that because the whole idea that the cars stopped working
Oh yeah.
in this one because of whatever
Crikey.
happened. The international Australian expression of bewilderment or surprise. The idea of Wormwood. As soon as I heard when I first read the title of this, it was intriguing to me because I do know the history of it from the Bible, being part of it is what they reference as the star that appears in the sky once the third angel empties his cup in Revelations.
Revelation.
In Revelations. It's Revelations, isn't it?
It's Revelation, but
I don't think
You're
you
right.
know.
Yeah, it's the Revelation of John.
I don't think Tyler knows about religion. So it's referenced in that. Also, it's very heavily referenced in Stephen King books as well. In the
Like trucks.
like in Maximum Overdrive, but there's a short story of his, and I can't remember which anthology it is. Home Delivery is the name of the short story. They specifically reference Star Wormwood as the
Nightmares and Dreamscapes. I bet.
yeah. Okay, so it's Star Wormwood is what causes the zombies to rise, and that and I think it's even mentioned in Cell. Also, I read that it was also mentioned in Under the Dome. I haven't read Under the Dome yet, but
I don't remember that.
Remember it.
and it's also
There's so
referenced
many
in-
words in that book. Like I'm
It's also-
surprised every word in the English language is not in that book.
True.
It's also referenced in the Dark Tower as well. So it's
So
very-
wormwood is a word that gets around. Wormwood is a word that gets around.
Yeah, and it has a connotation. So if you know anything about if you've read the Bible, then you know that
or Stephen King,
Stephen King,
which is kind of like the Bible.
it's our Bible. Then you kind of know that it's the heralding of trouble or the dead rising from the grave.
And the movie itself has three basic plot lines swirling sort of around this idea. One about there's the husband and the wife. That's the guy. who does he look like? He looks like someone, but I couldn't quite put my finger on who he kind of looks like.
Yeah, I never placed it either.
And then you have his sister, who is a suicide girl sort of person. Like I don't understand. Like I kind of didn't understand what like a cosplay photographer. I don't know.
Yeah,
something like that.
And then you have I don't want to be in like I don't know how to say. Was the one guy Aboriginal? Okay, I just want to make sure that I was not.
That's the only term I know of to use. It might be if it's offensive. I don't want
to step in it. Well, because
he's one of a kind. He's an Aboriginal.
Well, it's just one of the things where like I didn't read up to understand, but I realized I just want to say he's just a dude. But like I think it would be kind of culturally insensitive to not say something about. I mean, because Australia. That's a huge part of Australian culture. So I just, like it's mentionable. Is that a word? Mentionable?
I almost think that's almost not even its own subplot though, because it's like a scene and then he's integrated into.
It doesn't mention him at all. Like that's one of the things I like about it is that it's not like, oh, here's this other guy who is very like he is in here just for the sake of having him. And he, like I like it's not intentionally inclusive. It's kind of like Night of the Living Dead, where it's like no one mentions that Dwayne Jones is that Dwayne Jones is black. Like no one mentions that. So like here, it also doesn't make like he's just a dude in the movie, which I like.
Well, it also goes to show like it's kind of what we expect from Australian cinema, though. Is like in our culture, we expect to see
everyone talk about it.
Yeah, the crazy Australian guy and the Aboriginal character as well, which over there it could be the same dynamic as like what you just said, Night of the Living Dead, like the white characters and the black characters, but nobody's gonna mention it.
I totally expected a kangaroo too, though.
But in an American movie, it would be. I mean, like we watched the remake of Friday the 13th several episodes ago, and it was very upfront about race because you had one character who's like, why would you say that? It's racist. I'm black. Like this movie doesn't have any of that, and like in America, it's very arch and on the surface, like it's there's no conversation about race. It's just like here it is, black and white. We're gonna talk about it, but like this movie doesn't really acknowledge anything, but it's just like because no one would just have the conversation like, oh, so you're blah blah blah, you know what I mean? So
don't your forefathers have something to say about this? I don't know why I just attributed a southern accent to the redneck Australian too.
Mean, yeah,
Jay Gallagher.
It's the same idea.
What is his name?
Don't y'all think these Aboriginals are ruining this country?
So anyway, I
made Tyler uncomfortable.
No, I was just looking at
context. That'll be a problem.
No, I was just looking at IMDb page. I'm trying to figure out the character's name. What are the characters' names?
He was Benny.
Barry, Brooke, and Benny.
It was Benny.
Brooke is the sister. Bianca Brady.
Is that the actor's? I think the actor's name is Jay.
Is it Frank? No, Frank is the older
Barry.
guy.
Yeah,
Barry.
Jay Gallagher. I said it. Barry. That's Barry.
Jay Gallagher plays Barry. Yes.
So anyway, yeah, and so they get embroiled. They get sort of like these separate plot threads. It gives you sort of the
shrimps are on the Barbie, if you know what I mean.
They never get tired of that.
Man,
my plot synopsis was the guys from the box art of Army of Two for the PlayStation go fight zombies in Australia.
That's what the mask looks like.
Every time I looked at it, I was like, "This is the Army of Two box cover."
There isn't as much armored combat as the beginning salvo of the movie. Like you get this like slow motion slaughter at the beginning. You think like the movie's going to be more of that, but it kind of slows down and becomes more mellow, not melodramatic, but more dramatic in parts. It's like tonally, one thing I like is it's very all over the place, and that's why I compared it to Sam Raimi. Not necessarily the way that it was shot. It's more like Jackson-esque in the way that it was shot, but the way that it jumps from extreme, like look at how cool all this blood is to like, oh my God, I'm really sad, reminds me of Ash crying over his girlfriend and then like burying her and getting down to business of having a chainsaw hand. Like that's what this movie feels like.
Yeah, I can totally see that. I mean, because then you have that other character who comes in and is like your super stereotypical Australian character who only cares about beer.
Beer. Let's get some beer.
Let's get a beer.
Yeah, it's
no Fosters though, because that's not really. They don't really like that. I hear.
I don't know.
I almost bought Fosters tonight to celebrate this, but I was like, I don't like Fosters.
In an oil can.
Yeah, I was like, the small keg.
But that, like I said, they don't even. I've always heard that Australians didn't really like it.
They don't like Foster's either.
Yeah. Well,
It's been
Either.
It's one of those things. It's like when Crocodile Dundee came out. We were just all an Outback Steakhouse, basically the most racist of all.
Crocodile
chains.
Dundee. I was waiting for Paul Hogan to show up. I always wait for Paul Hogan.
If Paul Hogan would have shown up, that would have made this film 100%.
It would have been pretty awesome.
I mean, the film was. I already enjoyed this film, but Paul Hogan showing up would have made me probably scream and shake like a little girl.
I've heard he's an asshole.
I've heard that too, but
They brought the screenwriter of Crocodile Dundee 2 or 3 onto How Did This Get Made?
because he actually wrote one.
Huh?
He wrote one.
Which one?
Here's the funny part. Here's the funny part. What happened with I can't remember which one it was. It might have been the second one, but in the second one, they brought in this guy, the screenwriter who was on How Did This Get Made, but Paul Hogan, like, he sat in and helped, like, he wanted to write, but what he did was they wrote the entire script and then he went back through it and would cross stuff out and write like 1 or 2 words above it, and then he tried to have from what I remember, he either tried to get a co-writing credit or sole writing credit on this movie that he totally did not write.
That's almost like the when on the How Did This Get Made when Sylvester Stallone rewrote a script and wanted his name added to the actual book that the movie was made after.
He wanted David Morrell's Rambo to be. David Morrell's a famous like action writer and action adventure writer, and Sylvester Stallone wanted his name put on the book. Like he after the movie was released, he was like, I want to have the book attributed to me, and it was like a total book before. Like they optioned the book. It's weird. Like it wasn't a novelization.
The credits on 2 are to Paul Hogan and Brett Hogan, his son.
So maybe it was 3. I think it was 3.
I don't know why you'd want to claim credit for 3.
There was in the Dana Carvey show. They had the when the Dana Carvey show was on for the season that it was on. There was an episode where they were doing best celebrity videos, and there was one where there was a hidden camera in the Paul Hogan's office as they offered him Croc 3 and how shithouse he went about Croc 3, bloody Croc 3.
This can't be true. It
is 3. It is 3. It's Crocodile Dundee in Los Angeles. Absolutely.
Written
Simon
by
Windsor, yeah.
Yeah, written by Matthew Berry, the ESPN fantasy football guy.
Yes, I think so. Yes, that is him. Same.
Serious?
There are 2 writers, and one of them was the fantasy football guy.
Yes, that's the guy. That is the dude. That's totally the dude.
We're sure it's not Matt Berry from Garth Marenghi's Dark Place.
No, I'm pretty sure it's probably the other.
So anyway, like one of the plot threads.
Was he on? Wait, was he on? Was it Matt Berry?
Yeah, it was Matt Berry who was on How Did This Get Made? Who talked about totally getting dicked out of.
At one point.
Oh right, yeah.
He was
on the league at one point.
Yes,
so
he was.
So that would probably be a connection that was established there.
Yeah, that's probably why he was on the show. I had forgotten about that.
I can't believe he wrote that. That's funny.
Well, he almost didn't get credit for writing it.
I don't know if I'd want credit for it.
Yeah, well,
but write the first 2. So, I mean, it's not like Paul Hogan couldn't write the script.
Sure.
I think got an Oscar nomination for the first one.
Did he?
Script. I think got a best original screenplay now.
Holy hell! They'll give Oscars to anybody these days, won't they?
Nomination.
So anyway, like one of the things that I think reminded me most of Shaun of the Dead was that opening scene where Benny talks about his brother chasing him through the woods, and like that's an idea I haven't really seen in a horror movie that chases aren't necessarily just like frenetic and end in 1 to 2 moments. Like it will happen over time, and so like if a zombie chases you, you might not like it might not catch you, so you get tired and just kind of walk. And that's one of the things I found really hilarious was Benny just like walking in front of his brother carrying the rifle until he decided like I guess I have to kill my brother,
which is odd considering that how fast these zombies become.
Yeah,
or how fast.
But that's at night.
That's right. That was at night, which was
when they're not farting out their mouths or whatever.
It's very Green Mile-esque.
So
So he kills his brother, and then
shit hits the fan.
I mean, the other plot we have Jay Gallagher's part. What is his name? I've already forgotten.
Barry. Well, yeah, Barry trying to reach his sister who has been captured by the military and is being experimented on by this mad scientist.
I want to talk about. I want to compartmentalize that and sort of come back to it because I want to talk about Jay Gallagher's part. He is indeed he's Barry. Yeah. So like he's just kind of hanging out. It's the Dawn of the Dead remake kind of plot thread, but a dude instead of a woman because
Hey, Gallagher is actually Clue Gallagher from Return of the Living Dead. Son. No?
No.
God damn it. I tried to make their connection, didn't
you
I?
did.
He's actually the son of Gallagher, the comedian.
He's Gallagher too. Do you remember when that was a thing?
Yes, I do
Gallagher's
remember that.
brother. Yeah. So he.
Gallagher brothers.
Mm-hmm.
Do
Well,
I?
I'm sure he does have.
Oasis.
Oh, right.
I get it. That makes sense.
I just read an interview with
He has a new album.
yeah, that's High Flying Birds, right?
Yeah.
That
It's okay.
Rolling Stone interview with him. I kind of like how just unabashedly and unabashedly unapologetic he is about everything. Like when he talks about people, he's like, "Oh, that guy's a fucking twat."
They're
I'm
both.
like, yeah.
Apparently, they
like-
both were like that. Noel and
No, but
Liam.
he's still that way, and he's like, I've mellowed out a little bit in my old age. I'm like, well,
Have you?
yeah. He's like, I like Bono because he drinks still. And I was like, I imagine all his equals from the '90s who have now given up that.
Right.
And they're like,
Because they have
straightening
to
out.
because their livers are broken.
Right. He's still all right. This isn't Noel Gallagher.
they're on
Gallagher.
dialysis. Yeah. So so Jay Gallagher's plot thread is sort of like the Dawn of the Dead remake, where he's with his wife and daughter, and they're a very normal. I think like they are set up as a very normal family. I mean, it's
Sister.
it's ultimately his sister has like, but she's kick ass. Like she's weirder, but she's kick ass. And so like he and his wife and kid are like a normal family. They bicker a little bit, but nothing like there's no trouble in paradise. It's just kind of like this is the normal raising a teenager kind of stuff.
Yeah,
And-
the daughter calls her friends
Right,
some sluts, and everybody's like, whoa, whoa, whoa.
And
Yeah.
won't get off the phone at dinner.
Right.
Yeah, just your normal teenage stuff, and then he too has this moment. What's weird is like this movie veers from one emotion to the next in moments, and I guess like that's a good thing that it doesn't sort of like just stick, like it doesn't stick with the sadness too long and linger on it. It just kind of goes like, oh my god, this is crazy shit, and then like, oh, I'm very sad, but then here's some more crazy shit. Like that's kind of how the movie progresses. I like that it doesn't go like, and now here's our like sad sequence. It's just kind of like, oh my god, this is sad. Cut.
It's like you always think that's how it would be in that situation too. There's just so much stuff going on. You don't have time to linger on your sad, depressed, you know, death of your family kind of.
Well,
deal.
this
He had his one moment, and he had no nail left, and then
right,
Yeah.
exactly. This movie kind of
Is missed.
yeah,
oh man,
he missed.
Spoiler. Whoops.
but the idea that in this kind of situation, it's still that whole idea of in my head of like, if I was presented with this situation, I'd probably just kill myself.
Yeah.
And
Do
he
I-
tried to?
Yeah, and he does. I mean, come on. So one nail gun doesn't work. You don't try again.
I mean,
I've seen Dead Zone. I just put some scissors on a. I
Gross.
put some scissors on a bathtub drain and just jam my face down into it.
I mean, I think it's historical. Like it's something that a lot of people experience is that when they have a moment of weakness where they try to commit suicide, a lot of people panic and try to undo the damage. Like people will slit their wrists and then try to like wrap it up, and that doesn't work. So I think that maybe he felt like he had the moment and then the
Sure.
relief of not dying and then moved forward. Man, like that's my only explanation.
I tried to. I
They
just.
got Crasher's gun or whatever.
That's true. I did. I read an article a couple weeks ago about the Golden Gate Bridge and the suicides that happened on that, and everyone they interviewed who survived jumping said that their immediate reaction as soon as they jumped was, "Oh my God, what have I done?"
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like that. That whole temporary insanity thing of where you're like, "Oh my God, I'm gonna kill myself," and then you realize, "Oh, I didn't have to do that."
Yeah, I don't want to do that. Like, I just wanted to have a dalliance with the end, which, I mean, maybe that's what happened here. And I think,
True.
I mean, the thing is, I think if you linger in the situation and so you're literally witnessing your wife die, I think, I do think you probably would have that moment of like, fuck, I want to kill myself. But then you do, like, you're so, like, it's PTSD. It's like war. You're just like, no, I got to keep going. I got to find out what's going on.
Say "fack."
Yeah.
Say fuck.
Fucking
I
hell.
want to kill myself.
All of a sudden, he's a boss.
I'm not-
Australian.
I'm not going to engage because I know that it would be terrible. I'm gonna at one point I'm just gonna like break it out and you guys are gonna shake your heads. And
Also, hey, by the
Fact.
way, the zombies when their eyes turn, kind of like
Milky?
Kate's eyes.
Hmm?
They kind of like your lady friend's eyes.
Really? That's weird.
Kate has very light eyes, and
She
when she turns into when they turn into their zombies, it's like, oh, Kate's eyes.
I'll definitely have to tell her that.
Please do.
I will. She'll like that.
I like to think of that as an alternate version of Cat's Eyes too. Kate's Eyes.
Kate's eyes.
I was trying to think. Oh, never mind. So then we have. Okay, so let's talk. I think we need to like totally hit the sisters plot right now because it's so.
Let's hit that.
Let's hit that.
Let's hit that plot.
I'd hit that like a tree on indoor.
If you were a stormtrooper.
If that was a biker scout.
Oh, hey, Brian, you check that off our list. Obligatory Star Wars reference? Check.
Yes.
Got it.
I don't know if we've ever made a Star Wars reference on here.
I try to avoid them because, like, what are you going to say at this point? Except I'd hit
that Kevin. What are we gonna say that Kevin Smith hasn't said?
I know exactly. So the sisters plot is it's the weird like it's
She gets herself into a very Terry Gilliam-esque
Yes.
doctor situation.
Yeah.
okay. That's not who I was picturing, but yeah. Now that you mention it, Terry Gilliam's a good.
The whole like that fisheye kind of lens and stuff like
Yeah.
that. It reminded me a lot of 12 Monkeys when they're in that when Bruce Willis is going through the interrogation by the
When he's like drooling all over himself at the beginning, like
reminded me a lot of that, and the whole like even
Brazil.
like this. I know Terry Gilliam didn't direct City of Lost Children, but it kind of reminded me of that too. The whole
Also, Juné then.
yeah, but it gave me that feeling too. It was a very strange. The Doctor was very strange.
He was
Liked to
Strange.
dance.
Doctor
He liked boogie.
Strange.
He loved disco.
He did.
Doctor Strange loved disco.
Oh shit!
Haha.
That was a good one.
It's all right.
I mean
Strange love. Sorry.
yeah, it's I mean
If you're listening to this on Friday, what you've missed is the look of disappointment on Tyler's face when he tries to talk and I sing over him, guys. You got to tune in.
that's what they tune in for is you singing over me. So we need to do
the
it more.
look of defeat on his face when I start.
So as far as the sisters plot goes, like that B plot, I wanted to hate it because I thought like, oh, they just like every once in a while they just have this weird scene of science guy with needle and yellow suit, like HVAC suit or whatever. But I think it keeps it presently in your mind so that it just like it doesn't go away. So you're like, oh, whatever happened to her, but nothing really happens once she's captured. Like or at least very little seems to happen. Do you guys disagree? Or like, what's your thought about like what happens? Because in the end it pays off, but for most of the movie it's like, okay, he's weird, I get it, but
Well, even the idea, don't we only get the twist that, or not really twist, but they give us the information that it's A negative blood that is not affected by this
Right.
comet zombie.
A or AB?
I thought it was A negative,
I can't remember now.
but
Doesn't
they don't
matter.
even reveal that to her in the lab. It's only revealed
To the guys.
You're right.
To Barry when Barry and Benny are found by the
Right,
soldiers.
exactly.
By the
So-
captain and
to Neil. Ugh.
yes.
That's what I got. That's the only reference I have there.
Sorry.
So really
By
her,
the Captain Kangaroo.
I mean, we get the idea that okay, so the sister can now control zombies.
which is really David Wellington idea, which I never liked.
That's
I
exactly
never liked
yeah.
in the Monster Nation.
That's exactly
What was it called? The Monster Planet.
Monster-
What was the series
Monster
called?
Island,
Monster
I
Island,
know, what was
Monster
the series called? This is Monster Island, Monster
Monster
World? Who
Planet.
knows?
The
Monster World, maybe
Maybe
it
the
was
Monster World
But either way,
trilogy?
but yeah, it had that sort of idea, and I never liked that idea in his series. That was always the one thing that kind of bugged me was this hive like magic telepathic zombie
Yeah.
thing. That doesn't sit well with me in those and in that idea. And so that part, I don't know. It wasn't awful. It sets up. It makes sense. It gives us what we need to happen and move things forward. But I didn't like that development really.
Yeah, that I found that was what kind of pulled me out of the Wellington stories too. Is like I don't like the idea that this one
Gary,
thing-
I think was the name of that zombie.
the Viking zombie that could control
That
everyone.
was Gary.
Probably
I think.
Gary's mod.
Yeah. Maybe that's what I'm thinking.
I don't know. I kind of liked it as far as something that we don't see a lot in zombie stuff. I just felt like it was underdeveloped.
Right? Yeah. Like we weren't given an explanation. Did they infect her with something that allowed her to have this control, or was it always in her? Like it was always one of her abilities.
I don't know. That's a good question. Like I didn't think about that.
Inject her with that the blood from the zombie at that one point. So is that the reason why she could control that zombie?
Were they experimenting on that? Was they're saying they wanted her head, right? They were going to send it back to their boss, their leader.
Now
Like
I did
she's
find
rabid.
that it took me until the soldiers picked her up. I'm sorry, until the soldiers picked Jay and his Barry up.
Barry and Benny, chase the actor.
Sorry, until they picked Barry and Benny up in that truck, did I start thinking, oh my God, his sister is in that truck. That was a big twist for me too. Like, oh, she's not in a lab; she's in the back of that truck. That was like one of those moments. It's like, oh, no wonder it's made to seem like it's so small and the camera's shot so strange.
Yeah.
It's because they're in the back of the truck the whole time.
We're still going Bjorn and Benny.
Bjorn and Benny.
It violates the rule of having two characters with very similar names in your thing. Like you don't want to do that because it's confusing for the audience a lot of times. Like two B names. It's not only is it two B names, it's two B names that end in Y. Barry and Benny that have kind of a similar thing. But
for Benny, I think it was IE, but the sound I get you.
I mean, I think it was underdeveloped with regard like how the sister. I wanted more of it if we were going to have it. Like, if you're going to have it, we have more of it. Don't just go like, oh, this is at the end and we're going to use it, but then she's going to get shot and it gets... Like, if you're going to have it, let's have this, like, wrathful, like, Superman-esque or, like, Cthulhuian kind of ending where it's just, like, she destroys everything, which I guess eventually she kind of does.
But on a much smaller scale.
Yeah, like, I wanted to be like, oh, my God, this is so badass because... As a character, she's just tied up for most of the movie. Like she's damsel in distress for most of the movie, which is really not something that, I want out of a character like that. I think she should have been badass for much longer than she was.
Agreed. I mean, her character is set up to be more of that throughout. And so, I mean, I was expecting more from her, more of what she was going to be able to do, actually. Yeah.
She was she's basically the zombie version of Kerrigan from the Zerg in StarCraft.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh man, that was a good reference.
Man, lots of references.
I've never played that game.
What?
It's Trisha Helfer too.
That's who does the voice of Kerrigan?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Pretty sure. Yeah.
Queen of Blades?
Yeah.
Yeah, Tyler. You gotta get on that shit.
I know that there are that you build things and that people can send spies in to take over your things, and that if they do that, it's very bad.
Yes.
Is it very bad?
Did you miss the real-time strategy boom of the mid-90s?
I never played Diablo. I never played StarCraft. No.
Yeah.
I was a first-person shooter guy.
Oh my God. I loved StarCraft. That's a great jam. But the sister becomes that character
but way too late. I feel like she's just most like when she's on screen. I feel like they had like zany doctor guy so that her scenes wouldn't be so mind-numbingly boring, because really all it is her being tied up and seeing zombie stuff. We don't really even learn that much exposition when she's on screen, do we? Like, do we learn a lot from her or no?
No, we get that weird, the red camera, which I guess is kind of like the red tint where we realize that she's controlling something or she's seeing something through someone else's eyes. But it's only at the last like 30 minutes do we start realizing that she can do all this stuff.
Yeah.
It just feels like
it's fine because they do inject her with the blood from the zombie that turns green, that greenish color.
Everything about this though screams, Mad Max, in the sense that I'm expecting the inevitable sequel to, or even Evil Dead 2, I guess would be another example too, just to be better funded and just more, and just this, but more, like everything just piled on and just expanded upon and done to that next level.
Like Ice-T, next level. That's his podcast, The Next Level. Anyway.
We listened. I mean, we looked up on it. There is a Wyrmwood 2 on IMDb, and what Drew is saying is true. And what I hope doesn't happen is that if they make a second one with more money, I hope they don't take out some of the, the violence and the headshots and the shooting and the stuff like that is really good. Like it was more like head explosions I've seen in a zombie film in a long time.
I was gonna say, have you seen Kingsman? Because that's got more head explosions than I've seen in anything.
Kingsman,
maybe ever.
That new
it's
film?
good. It's cool.
Huh.
I am not. I do not want. I want to be unequivocal here. I really liked this movie a lot. So
I enjoyed this movie thoroughly.
I don't want to. This is not a movie where I'm like where I'm giving it a pass. Like, oh, I liked it a lot. Like, I thoroughly thought this movie was so kinetic and weird, and I really liked some of the ideas. I just don't think they were fully developed or were like at the end. I thought it would have been more cool. I mean, I don't want to jump to the end because we're not. I mean, I guess we're like halfway done the podcast, but I mean, I kind of like the idea of like her controlling Benny and turning Benny into this like crazy zombie killing super soldier. But I'm glad. In the end, I'm kind of glad they didn't do that because then again, she would just be this like passive character at that point. Like I don't know. Like I don't think that was as cool an idea. I did like I mean, there's so many crazy things that happen in this movie. Like when Barry and the other guy, the bald guy, are running through the woods and his head just fucking explodes. I was genuinely shocked by that.
And it wasn't Benny's like, do you think he's okay?
I don't think he's okay.
Benny's timing was really amazing on this, and also his delivery. He has kind of like a Jason Jason Lee sort of delivery where the way that he says things is funny because the lines themselves might not be funny, but I think they just had to have written the script to say like, you have to say what the fuck a lot because of the way Benny says it is pretty amazing. And that moment where it's like, oh, is he all right? And because we see his head go
disintegrate
everywhere.
It's like a water balloon filled with red Kool-Aid.
It was almost like Scanners-esque and how it exploded.
Yeah, exactly. So what I'm, in this, while watching this in the comfort of my home,
palatial manor
on a computer, it got me thinking too. Is like, so we're showing this film on Thursday night at the Chattanooga Film Festival, April 2nd through the 5th.
April 2nd through the 5th, like
Chattanooga
next
Film Fest, ChattanoogaFilmFest.com. Get your tickets there. And I'm wondering, I think this movie will play well with a large.
Oh yeah.
And it brings up so it came out on VOD last week or the week before. I don't know. I'm not sure exactly when the release date was.
Recently.
Right. So this is March 18th today. So probably March 15th, 13th.
Is this significant?
It's not significant.
Okay.
Anyway, but I think what I was getting at was that this idea that yes, the format of films and how they're delivered to us is changing, but I think what this kind of illustrates is that we all, Tyler and I, enjoyed it thoroughly. Drew liked it. There's some drawbacks to it. But I think in a mass audience setting, do you think you'd have enjoyed it more because you'd have been in that energy of what was going on?
I'm not gonna fall into the bad Milo fallacy.
The very famous bad Milo.
Because it's seen with people. I do think this movie. Yes, I think this is a movie that its energy and all of that is going to carry better on a bigger screen with a large group of people who are thoroughly enjoying it. Yes, because I don't think it's bad.
No, right.
I do think it will gain energy and potency from that, as opposed to
what was the movie?
Our previous example of this.
What was the movie from last year, Brian, that played so well? Why don't you play in hell? Is that what it was called? Something to that effect?
Well, we had a few of them. I mean, like Cheap Thrills.
No, I was saying, why don't you play in hell? Is that the name of the one that I'm thinking of? Like
we played that last year, and it got a lot of like really great reactions.
Yeah, that because I remember walking in as people were watching that, and people were just like guffawing at the violence. I feel like this is also similar. This movie has more though attempts at like gravity than that movie does. This movie has like there are moments that I like that feel kind of at a place where people talk about how this isn't that horrible compared to real life. Like real life, like before all of this is much worse because there's the one guy whose name I keep forgetting who ends up getting bitten and he has to be killed because he can't commit suicide. What's his name?
It's the beer.
Yes.
I can't remember Frank.
But he has the moment where he talks about maybe his kid dying of a brain tumor.
Yeah, and then he says, "No, go ahead. Sorry."
No, I'm just saying that like this movie reaches for something else that's not just like most horror movies portray the here and now as the ultimate picture of violence and the worst thing that could possibly happen. But I guess upon reflection, you can think like when you're in a moment, you can say, no, this other stuff is worse. And I think that's one of the things I like that this movie reaches for, even though like it feels weird in this crazy ass action oriented movie, but it's still there. There's still the element of that things happen that are worse, fates worse than these happen. So I don't know.
I wish I could remember. There was one say he does say that, but then he contradicts that like immediately after he says, and I can't remember what he says. It was really funny when I was watching because I turned around to Gina and I was like, "This is worse than this. You just told us your kid died from brain cancer and how bad that was." And then he says something that kind of negated that, which I thought was interesting because I agreed with what you said. Yeah, it totally pulls you out of it, but in a good way. You're like, yeah, this is bad, but I mean, it's handleable, or it's bad for everybody. It's like it's like it's like an equal an equal opportunity bad. It's happening to everybody.
It's that moment in Dawn of the Dead, the whole when they're going around the table asking what they were good at before all this happened, and the one character's like, I was good at being a dad. That moment where you're like drawn into the fact that these people had lives before this happened.
Yeah, and like
it's poker in Dead Rising. Like, why do you do that? So dumb.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it is true though that in this situation you can't. Humans are really selfish people, or are selfish people. Humans are really selfish creatures, so you can't make pain personal if everyone is experiencing it simultaneously. Right. You sort of have to let it go. Like everyone is going through this, but your kid dying of cancer pre all of this feels worse because it's more personal to you. And I'm sure that like the pain that the people in this movie felt post the zombie takeover kind of stuff was probably less bad than say like when Barry had to kill his family, because that was sort of like at the outset. Like I'm sure that was the worst, and everything after that was just like you reach a certain level where your body just shuts down, but also like you realize what's going on. It's not just like I don't understand this.
Yeah. Everything else like that was right gator. I've been making up Australian slang. That's one that I'm really going to try and catch on.
I really wish that the
it can mean anything.
You know what I'm going to do home tonight and do? Go on eBay and try to find a copy of Bayou Billy for the NES.
Oh, nice, yeah.
To play.
Because you're going to enjoy that for like 5 minutes before you realize how terrible it is.
Oh God, these games were horrible.
There's a someone emailed to the Giant Bombcast a couple weeks ago and was like, here's the test if a game holds up over time. Play it for 10 minutes and then ask yourself, would I like to keep doing this for longer? And the answer is usually no.
Outside of the Super Mario games and like Zelda, that's why those are still great games.
Well, yeah, I'd say
I still would like to play them, but God, so many of the rest are so terrible.
Like Mario, Zelda, I'd go say Mega Man. Like, and Mega Man
and Metroid. I mean, that's the thing. The games that last because I would like to play them again.
Sure.
Even the first Metal Gear.
I mean,
Contra, right?
Even the first Metal Gear, though, I'm like, I don't want to do this. No,
it gets obnoxious. Yeah.
It was long. It was long before there were actually 100-minute cutscenes.
Yeah.
But you still had weirdly named villains that didn't actually distinguish. They didn't look distinguishable, but still had distinguishable characteristics. Oh gosh, Hideo Kojima.
Oh, Kojima.
That bastard genius. That's nothing to do with what we're talking about.
I guess the next shirt we make should just say "Oh Kojima" on the back.
Oh Kojima. I kind of like that. Just red on. I would say red lettering on white. Just block letters. O, Kojima. Oh Kojima. Anyway, he has quit.
No, you got to put it in the font of the snake yelling.
Oh right,
with the exclamation point at the end of it.
Totally. The copyright 2015.
Or just
podcast. Don't steal. Please don't steal that.
Yeah.
So as far as like the end of the movie, explain. I can't quite actually remember what happens at the end. Once they freed the sister, and what exactly happens? I am completely blanking. They realize she can like control zombies, so she does that. Is Benny dead at this point, or does that come later?
Bitten or shot and
He gets
then
shot.
and then he says, and then he sacrifices himself so she can bring him back, and he kills the other two guys, and then the captain challenges Barry to a fist fight.
Oh yeah,
This is very Archer, I guess, especially with the name Barry. It's like challenges the fist fight, and then
but the sister gets shot before all of this, right?
he shoots the sister, and then challenges to the fist fight.
See,
yes.
that's another thing. Like they set her up as okay, so here is the badass stuff. I expected her to save Barry, but instead it still becomes about Barry. And even though he's the lead, I still
very
don't.
traditional gender roles that should not have been in this.
Do I?
There are very traditional gender roles that should not have been in this. Yeah, she should have ended up like he should have thought the entire time he was going to save her, and then ultimately she is the one who ends up saving him. I agree.
But I don't know that he's even the lead. Like he is the lead, but this movie doesn't. I mean, what does he do that is the most heroic? Like what makes him the leader here? What makes him the person we care about the most? Is that meant to be there?
He puts the fire out.
He puts the fire out. It sounds like an 80s song.
We didn't light the fire.
Except on the captain's face.
Yeah.
Exactly. The idea that I lost where I was going to say.
God.
Dude, it's like you had it.
I had it. I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna make such a great point.
This is okay. So here's my point. I forgot it.
So I mean, I don't know. It's I mean, as far as the end goes, I mean, I agree. I think it would have been more interesting if
it would have been more badass too. Like
it was almost that like the end was almost that moment in Attack of the Clones when Dooku and Yoda meet each other. It's like, well, it's obvious that we're not going to be able to settle this on our idea of moving stuff with the Force. We better settle this shit with lightsabers
and flipping.
Right. It was like that moment. You're like, they didn't have to fight at all. Like this guy could have totally just killed him and been done with it. Or the idea, like the Incredibles idea, like. So, yeah, he's got me tied up, and he just keeps monologuing like, oh, my God, just shut up and kill me already.
It's weird that we say we don't make any Star Wars references, and then we've made two very major ones this episode.
One of which has been Attack of the Clones.
I know. What a weird thing. Yeah.
When I showed...
I thought Tim had just risen out from behind Tyler right there. Right there, right below his shoulder. It's like the way you dropped your shoulder. So it's like, whoa, what is that?
The Babadook.
It's a Pokemon.
And showing Jackson the Star Wars films. We watched 4, 5, and 6, and that was fine. We started watching episode 1, and I don't remember ever being so angry
Why?
than I was this time around, like watching that film going, oh my God, I don't care about any of this.
None. Not any.
I don't give a shit about what's going on in the Senate.
Did he like that better?
No, he fell asleep within 30 minutes.
That's good to hear. Because I have a lot of kids I talk to who sit there and talk about, they watch 1, 2, 3, and then talk about how bad 4, 5, and 6 are because all they can focus on are the effects. And the effects aren't as good. And that's where they get lost.
But they'll grow up. I mean, I didn't feel the same way about Star Wars, but I felt that way about a lot of movies when I was younger where I was like, oh man, the effects in this are awesome. And then I get older, I'm like, oh, but the movie, this is not good.
When we were doing the...
Like Transformers?
We were making.
I know.
When we were making the.
Giving you a hard time.
We were making the rules and restrictions for like submitting a film. We were looking at a bunch of different other film festivals and what they required, and a lot of them said, "If we see digital fire in your short, we were not going to accept it."
Stay away from digital fire.
I just loved it. I was like, "Oh my God!"
Digital blood is bad too. Digital fire and digital blood. Oh.
I think that one of the first things we saw was like with the headshots we saw digital blood. I was like, man, just don't even have it at that point.
Real
like,
blood.
Oh, they actually killed. I mean, it was a penal colony at one point.
I firmly believe that in my mind that Australia is still the Wild West.
No, man, they allow less video games than we do.
But I think
video
that
game
I think that once you leave like Sydney or Perth or stuff like that, you get into the Melbourne. You get into the middle of the country and it's all bets are off. Nobody's really watching what's going on in the middle of that country.
I think that's why horror movies generally work pretty well there. Like I've liked
Wolf Creek.
I've enjoyed a lot of the horror movies that have come out of Australia over the last several years, I guess, the last decade. So I think it works. And this movie, I really think Wormwood works as a flick. I mean, it's really enjoyable. It definitely is kind of not. you can tell after you said that it took 4 years to make this movie. I can tell like there are weird lapses in pacing where I'm like, oh, even though they had a script, like this still feels like the tone changes so much. But I kind of like that because it kept me guessing as to what I'm supposed to be feeling. Because I mean, you have Barry who screams about his wife, and then there are headshots and comedy and laughs and then action and more somber stuff. It never quite goes one note, and I like that a lot about this movie.
Yeah, it kept my attention. It did a good job in not getting boring.
Yeah, I mean, it kept
wasn't a
going.
boring film at all.
And I mean, I think a lot of filmmakers, especially in the horror genre, tend to think that the movie will work so long as you have jump scares or this other thing. Like they have a thing that they do in their movie. And as long as they have that and have enough of it, all the other shit doesn't matter. Like who cares who the characters are? Who cares what the plot is? And I think that's why a lot of horror movies don't work. It's why it's so easy to pick apart horror movies is that they want the one thing, which is like gore or scares or whatever that I guess horror MacGuffin is. Like they want that one thing, but the other stuff goes away. And this movie doesn't really have that, even though the characters aren't that, like they're not that in depth. I mean, these are not very deep characters, but yet they do pretty awesome stuff continuously through the movie. And I don't know what separates this from other unsuccessful movies of its ilk.
I just think that they did the effects. I mean, Drew mentioned the digital blood, but
I actually didn't. I just said I don't like digital blood.
I mentioned the digital blood.
Drew mentioned the digital blood, but the idea, like, it was unabashedly violent too. Is that?
Yeah.
I mean, people got their heads blown off, and that was just the way things were gonna.
And that's just the way it is.
That's just the way it is. Some things will never
Doodaloo,
change.
doodaloo, doodaloo.
In horror, but
that's the range of horror.
Well,
That's the range of horror.
Bruce Hornsby in the range of horror. You want to hear a funny story?
No, to keep going your point.
You want to hear a funny story about Bruce Hornsby?
After this, tease it and then come back. I want to hear what your point. Your point.
He lost his point.
No, I didn't lose it.
Okay.
I didn't lose it. Is that I think we're living in a great age of horror, and that we can get the films that are like this, where they're unabashedly violent, where we get just like heads blown off and shit just hitting the fan, and then we get the films like the Babadook and like Starry Eyes and Resolution, where there's something other than the typical horror that you're used to, where they're not following those three films in particular are not following this typical script of what a horror movie should be. This one is a great zombie, blow your head off kind of film. It's what a zombie film should be in this day and age. No, they didn't shy from people just going out and fucking taking a shotgun and blowing heads off.
It also, like, I feel like zombie movies especially are susceptible to sort of like plot.
You have to do something good to make a good. You have to do something different to make a good zombie movie these days.
Well, I just think, I think a lot of zombie movies are bad because they fall into this sort of like plot hole where they get stuck and like characters have to do stuff to go somewhere, and it becomes about how to move the plot forward or like what the actual obstacles are as opposed to like what the characters want. Like if characters have like a pretty specific goal, then I think the movie works a lot better. And I think this movie has that because it has a pretty simple goal. It doesn't just put weird obstacles in front of them and then kill off the character so that it's like, oh my God, here is an obligatory death scene because we haven't had one in 10 minutes. So I feel like this movie avoids some of the traps that a lot of these kinds of movies fall into, like where you have a pack of people and they slowly get killed off, like the end, then there were none problem. So I feel like this movie avoids a lot of that. And I don't know what separates it from other movies that don't work, but this movie works.
I don't know. I'm of the, I didn't dislike the movie, but I'm of the exact opposite opinion. I thought that everything in it, I thought it didn't do anything different that I hadn't seen before. I felt like I was watching several movies that I'd seen several times before, done in an entertaining way with some entertaining people, but I never felt it had anything original to say.
Well, majority rule is you're outvoted, Drew.
It's true. And that's where I think it's going to be one of those weird movies though, or has the potential to be one of those weird movies where its sequel is something superior to what it is if they're given more to work with, and rather than just doing more with it, they actually do something else with it. But that was the thing. But I didn't think it was. Again, I did not think it was bad. I just didn't. I didn't feel any of the originality side of it.
I don't think it's doing anything original, but I just think that it doesn't fall in like it is a sort of compilation or sort of like a cover song, but a really good one. I don't think it's original, but I think it doesn't fall into a lot of the boring traps that other movies do, like where it's, oh, we have to do this now, we have to do this. It feels free in a way that a lot of horror movies don't, where they feel like I could see you argue that this is formulaic. I could see you argue that this is sort of not original, just a fun movie. But I also think it is not unoriginal either. Like it doesn't do anything new, but it also runs very smoothly. It is easy to watch. It's not like, oh my God, here's another thing, because that's one thing that I've become sort of intolerant of. When we watch movies, we've done enough of these episodes, and I've had enough to say about movies that get in their own way. Like this movie doesn't really get in its own way a lot.
No.
You know, I enjoy that it moves along and it doesn't just bore me, and it doesn't have these sort of like plot obstacles where it's just obligatory and just there to be there. Because that's where a lot of these movies trip up. I'm trying to think of one that we've watched where I thought it was really tedious, the way that they have to stop the plot, or they have to slow the movie down so that we can have a movie-length movie.
Friday the 13th, the remake.
Yeah, absolutely.
Look, can I tell you this
like
Bruce
that movie a
Hornsby
lot.
story now?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Right,
Sure.
Right.
So in Bruce Hornsby's first album, I believe it's called The Way It Is.
Okay.
I could be wrong. He's from my hometown of, I think he's from Williamsburg, Virginia. But anyway,
we're getting bogged down in details.
let's go. Bay Days, Hampton Bay Days. I'm going to say the year is probably 1987, 86.
Okay.
He comes to play, and there's a contest for someone who owns a fishing boat. He'll come out and fish with you for the day. So my parents...
Is that really fun?
I don't know. My parents have a friend who owns a oyster... They're oyster people.
Okay.
And they win it. So I got to spend a good afternoon with Bruce Hornsby on a boat.
Was that fun? Like,
He was. I mean, he's a fine guy. He just talked about I guess his grandfather was an oysterman,
Right.
so he kind of talked about it and stuff like that. But it was more just like shooting the shit with him. But
Right.
it was fine. It was just like it was
But
just.
it just seems like a weird prize. It's like
I was like I think I was probably 8 or 9 years old and like sitting under the little
get to eat at Chili's with Kid Rock. It's like,
yeah, it's exactly what it was. There was like this like the thing on the back of the boat where they would like put the oysters in and wash them off before they put them into the cooler. But I was sitting underneath that and I remember just sitting there looking at Bruce Hornsby like going,
not knowing who he was.
not. I mean, I knew I liked the song.
Right.
I knew he sang about the area of the world I lived in.
Right.
I knew his album, The Way It Is, had a picture of a diesel rolling a silhouette,
Go to-
eastbound, lovers glad.
Go to TGF Fridays with James Taylor.
That's exactly what it was. Oh my God.
All you can eat apps with JT.
I would do that.
I would fucking totally go to All You Can Eat Ass with James Taylor. Are you kidding? I'd be like, so this hog-nosed snake you talked about in Copperline, what's that about?
That's a quick one. You pulled that out pretty quick.
Or I actually talk about like going to Carolina in my mind. I'm like, man, sometimes late at night I think I can hear the highway calling,
Yeah.
geese in flight and dogs that bite.
Hey, I'm just trying to eat my wings, my boneless wings. Please leave me alone.
He's like, look, I got to do this for like an hour.
It's like, I just want to eat potato skins.
Him just sighing and looking at his watch the entire time.
Oh my God.
I would recommend Wormwood though. I think
I
people
would
need
too,
to see
yeah.
them. I would say watch it. It's like it's
And if you're looking for something to listen to after Wormwood, James Taylor's Greatest Hits and Bruce Hornsby's The Way It Is. Sorry.
I agree. All of those points.
Listen to The Mandolin Rain.
I'm just trying to entertainingly think of other chain restaurants.
I know.
to
I could see your brain, the gear moving in your head.
Cheddars.
With who?
I'd go Cheddars with let's see, who's another good
50 Cent. I think it's gonna get out of the range.
No, you need to keep into that adult contemporary
Yeah, true.
range.
I would like go to Red Lobster with Joe Walsh.
Christopher Cross.
There you go. Red
Yeah.
Lobster with Christopher Cross.
Oh, that's it. Red Lobster.
That's a good one, Tyler. Red Lobster with Christopher Cross. I mean, because at some point you just get tired of Red Lobster's bullshit, and you're like, God damn, this is like the worst seafood ever.
It's admission, not secret or anything, but I could not name a Christopher Cross song.
Sailing.
Uh-oh.
I don't know what.
Run Like the Wind, Arthur's theme.
Oh yeah,
I have no idea.
Yeah, Run Like the Wind's a good one.
What is sailing?
Same. Sailing takes me away to where I'm going.
Nope, I got nothing. That has no.
Do miracles.
That's nothing.
You've never heard.
Now, if you start quoting Chris Cross songs, I could do that.
The moon in New York City.
Nope,
You've
nothing.
never seen Arthur?
I know it's crazy, but it's
I've
true.
seen it, but I don't.
my-
Not since 1985.
You've never even
when
seen
it-
the Seinfeld episode where they've booked Christopher Cross for the Millennium concert?
Didn't he win some crazy amount of Grammys like that first one? I know
Oh,
he
I'm
won Best New
absolutely sure.
Artist. And
I'm absolutely. I think we need to really.
If you started talking about Daddy Mac and Mac Daddy, I would be down though.
Listen,
Miggity, 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 Mac, y'all.
real talk, guys, we need to talk about having a podcast about early 80s to late 80s adult contemporary rock.
oh yeah, I could do that.
You guys
I'd like Tyler-
certainly
and,
can.
You know, Drew
Do
and I
it.
could probably hang as far as knowledge. I think I'd like to have Tyler in there just to be like, I have no fucking clue.
Yeah,
what you're talking about.
I have. Yeah, no, I don't. I take pride in how little I know about adult
You're
contemporary
telling
music
me
from the 80s.
you don't want to go to Applebee's with the Little River Band.
Bob Evans with Kenny Loggins.
A Bob Evans. Jesus Christ. Where is even a Bob Evans?
Ohio.
Right.
Yes.
I know there's a Bob Evans in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina.
In Ohio,
Yeah. So, yeah.
but no Messina.
Fuck you, Loggins. Also, watch the Yacht Rock.
Oh yes. All right, we've gotten completely
We have
off.
gone. Yeah,
We're
I
off
would
script.
definitely suggest seeing Wormwood. I want to call it Wyrmwood.
I like that
You
do
keep
that every
saying
time.
Wyrmwood.
I feel like this is some bad Middle Ages night movie with Nicolas Cage.
See Wyrmwood.
I'm gonna slowly play you off.
is risen in the east, and we must. Oh, really?
So see Wyrmwood, and if you're in the southeast and at least with like in 2 hours drive of Chattanooga, come see it with us on Friday, April 2nd at the Chattanooga Film Festival.
No, that's the third.
Thursday, April 2nd
There you
at
go.
the Chattanooga Film Festival.
And we're not saying that Bruce Hornsby won't be there,
Right.
but we're not saying he will be. Because
I'm also saying that
Bruce Hornsby.
at that point,
I can't predict that.
I can tell you that yes, Elijah Wood will be there. So I will tell you
Woo.
that,
Not Bruce Hornsby.
but not Bruce Hornsby. So if you happen to be at the Chattanooga Film Festival and you see me, let's make a point to tell Elijah Wood that we're disappointed that Bruce Hornsby isn't there. What the fuck are you talking about? Exactly.
Well, that's just the way it is. If that's his response, that would be fantastic.
Oh my God, if he said that's just the way it is, guys, guess who's blowing Elijah Wood that night? Me. The answer is me.
On
as-
that note,
Yeah, as I sit underneath a weird hotel shelf looking at him like I did Bruce Hornsby in 1986. All right, guys. I'm sorry we veered so far off course. I'm not, because we don't, it's fun when we all get together. Friends are fun.
Yep.
It's the silence. God damn, it's like being married. All right, guys. Thanks for listening. I'm Brian.
I'm Tyler.
and I'm Drew.
And make sure you go see Wyrmwood. Come see the Chattanooga Film Festival. And thanks for listening.
Little Carl's Jr. with Steve Perry,
Mm-hmm. Oh, God. That guy.
but not a Hardee's.
That guy's probably should. I refuse to eat at Hardee's. I will eat at Carl's Jr.
Well, Hardee's is too far east. He can't traveling that far.
That's right. Are you going to talk anymore tonight, Tyler?
Yeah. No, I don't have anything to add to this at all. Like I can't think of any of these. I don't know any of these people really. So I'm just like, I have no idea. And I don't have any of this.
I'd like to get into an argument with somebody someday who was like, please have an argument with me about music when you came into age during Limp Bizkit.
Say that again. Sorry, you broke
so
up.
much
What?
trivia.
No, it's fine.
There's so many times at trivia we have a song that we get that we don't know, and I'm always like, God damn it, Brian would know this.
Brian would know this fucking song.
All the time. But then we got it. It was Seals and Croft.
Was it Diamond Girl?
Yeah.
Or Summer Breeze?
No, it wasn't Summer Breeze. It was Diamond Girl. But Scott got it though.
Oh, yeah.
Because I listened to it, it's like I knew it. It's like I know who this is, and I just couldn't. And then he sat there for a while, and he's like,
"We may never pass this way."
Seals and Croft. I was like, that's it.
I could not name a Seals and Croft song either. I don't even know who that is.
The more famous one. Summer Breeze.
Summer breeze makes me feel fine.
I guess I know that one.
Through the jasmine in my mind.
Wait, but the first three, the first line is the only part of that song I know.
Summer breeze. Well, Typo Negative did cover it.
Oh, that's right.
He was like, "Summer breeze makes me."
They also covered Cinnamon Girl.
They did cover Cinnamon Girl.
Like the Prince song?
Not the Prince song. The Young song.
Right.
I'm in love with the cinnamon girl.
Okay,
How do you even sing that slow?
What's the donut place in
Tim Hortons?
Yeah, with Neil Young.
Tim Hortons with Neil Young. It has to be a Canadian.
Drew, you should make a post on the website that's just all of these in a list.
I also thought Leonard Cohen maybe. Tim Hortons and Leonard Cohen.
Leonard Cohen's a little too cool.
I know, but at the donut place though, is yeah. But
Waffle House with Leonard Cohen.
Waffle House with the Atlanta rhythm section.
Yeah, that sounds more like it.
So you listen to him sing, "I am so into you," or "Imaginary Lover." Tyler's like, "God damn it,
I have no idea what you're talking about. I just don't.
I might as well just be speaking in a foreign language right
you
now.
And Drew, this is all you and Drew. I don't know. I just don't know it. Like it doesn't. I mean, it's just
Ruby Tuesday with Kevin Cronin.
Jesus Christ. I mean, I
think you'd have to lead with that with REO Speedwagons.
I totally want to say, like, let's go to
the mall.
Let's go to the mall with Dan Fogelberg, but he's dead, so I can't make that dream a reality.
That's sad.
I don't know any Dan Fogelberg songs either.
You do too.
You know Auld Lang Syne.
We drink a toast to innocence.
I don't know that song.
Drink a toast to now.
I totally don't know that song.
You don't know. You tell me you don't know.
Always or
longer than any mountain cathedral.
He's not know any of these.
I have no idea what that song
is.
As
the binding cracks and the pages start to yellow,
nothing.
I'll be in love. You're going to sit there as a music fan and tell me you don't know any Dan Fogelberg. Or what's the... I remember listening to Dan Fogelberg in the car once on the way to when I worked at the pet funeral home with Jill.
Right.
And she's like, after listening to it, she's like, this guy is singing about fucking books. It's like, yes, right on, man, right on.
And the guy at trivia the other night called books the most overrated thing ever.
Books?
Yeah. I mean, I disagreed, but yeah, I wasn't. I was kind of in the minority at that point.
You were in Jefferson.
Not that night. That was in Athens. That was at Bricks.
Books. Who reads them?
Not many of the people there.
Yeah, not really anybody when we get down to it.
That's why they're dying.
Yeah.
Thank goodness for the Kindle.
Yeah.
I've allotted myself $20 a month at Abe's used books online to just buy books.
Yeah.
And it usually gets me like $4 or $5. It's pretty nice.
And now that if we have a house, it would be nice. This one house we were looking at that we got, God, I wish we got it. I'm so disappointed now. It had built-in these giant, nice built-in bookshelves, and I was so disappointed. I was like, oh, but I gave away all my books like the last time when I was moving, and so, but then I can buy them again. But then we didn't.
If you asked for them back, I'd give them to you.
We didn't get that house.
I'm getting rid of my books over spring break. I think I'm just gonna get rid of all of them. Like I don't.
I'm just at one book case, and I've got way too many on that one.
More power to you guys.
I might just get rid of all of them and just get the credit. Like I kind of want to. I want to get down to like a 1 in 1 out policy where I just like I go buy a book, I read it, and then when I want to read another book, I'll go get that book. Because I'm not at the point like I used to keep them when I first started writing, so I could underline and find references and go like, oh, I want to write kind of like this, but I don't do that anymore. So I've established my voice or whatever enough so that I don't have to do that. So I just want to get rid of them. Like they're just sitting in boxes and on shelves and taking up space. Like it's pointless.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Video games too.
Book is way too big at this point. But fortunately enough, that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
No one will ever see it.
All right.
Which makes Brian sad because he wants everyone to see his collections.
Yeah.
I do. Although I'm like you guys. I have everything in fucking Rubbermaid containers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to get rid of most of my stuff. It's coming every spring. Every spring this happens. I just get like, I want to get rid of everything I own, and every year I get rid of a little bit more. Like soon I will just have nothing. I hope.
When we move, that's what we're gonna do. I'm getting rid of. I'm already looking at books, and I'm gonna dump.
My lucky day.
Do you see anything over there you want right now?
Sure, I'll fucking go through there.
Most of those comics I'll probably give up.
Yeah.
I figured you'd get excited about that. The Publix bags of Sandmans aren't mine.
I mean,
though.
that
Can't have
fucking.
those.
I mean, I basically put food on Jackson's table with that Batmobile you gave me. The
You
Lego
still
one.
have the Batmobile.
I don't have that. It was $650 on eBay. Once I emailed
Placed
Lego,
apart.
once I emailed Lego and told them I was missing this part from this set, they sent it to me for free, and then I fixed it and sold it.
Okay.
Wow.
I didn't do that.
I know. That's
I
the
didn't-
thing.
I didn't
You've
do
done
that.
this before.
Damn it! I would never do that. Tyler would walk into the house and just be disgusted by the amount of shit in there. He'd be like, "Oh my god!" He'd either be disgusted or mad that he didn't keep all his shit.
No, I think I'm trying to break my attachments to things. So
I respect that. And I go through that phase too, but then I'm like, I have too much shit to get rid of.
I did that pretty well. I mean, if I could get rid of all of these DVDs somehow, I would.
Oh, well, look what we got here.
I'll allow myself one shelf of DVDs. Like that's it.
I'm going to start looking and seeing what you want to take. I'll
Sure.
pull some things back, but
I'll look.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll look.
Sweet.
I don't mind buying. Like I'm getting to the point where like I'll buy a DVD, but I'm going to return it because McKay's gives you such a good price for what you sell back. Like
Yeah.
I bought Aliens on Blu-ray this weekend because I haven't seen it in like a decade. So
I don't know the last. I can't tell you the last DVD I bought. It was.
I bought Aliens this weekend. That's the last DVD.
I bought John Wick on Blu-ray.
It's good, but I would never.
I
bought.
bought Aliens, and last fall I bought To Kill a Mockingbird because I had to for school. But other than that,
Yeah. That's probably the last one I bought was something for school. Yeah.
so
Did the county reimburse you? It's a joke.
Yeah.
all right, fellas, I'm gonna go eat dinner. It's getting
man.
nigh upon 8 o'clock for me.
Yeah, man.
Tell Kate to watch her zombie ass.
I will. I'll definitely tell that. You guys have a good night.
See you, man.
All right, bye
Yeah.
guys. Bye.